All right, hello everybody. I am Nicola Rinaldi. I am the author of the book No Period, No What. Let's see if I can get that in frame there. And I've wanted to do a video or podcast series for quite a while now, just talking to women who have recovered from hypothalamic amenorrhea or missing periods. And so you can hear from them and hear a little bit more about their stories. If you're in my Facebook support groups, then you will read a lot of it. But I think hearing from the real person is often really helpful. So I wanted to say hi. And I stink at all this technology stuff. So this is not going to be a super snazzy video or anything like that. Just me and for today, just me. And I will figure out how to do interviews and get those on as well. So what I plan to do is to have a series of interview questions that I ask people each week or every other week, depending on how often I can get this done. And then I'll also throw in a couple of videos with other people sort of in the field that may be helpful to hear from. Particularly, I hope to get some doctors on who can answer some of the questions about, do I really have to cut my exercise? And do I really have to eat more? And all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start with the interview questions. I'm going to ask them of myself for today, but in the future I will be asking them of other people, and so you can really get a sense of the different ways that people can kind of lose their periods and different forms of recovery and how long it can take and all that kind of stuff. So the first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself and the factors that played into your missing period or hypothalamic amenorrhea. So in my case, I was in graduate school, and a lot of this is in my book, so I'm just going to give you the very short version. And towards the end of my grad career, I was exercising a ton because I loved it, and my husband was a consultant, and so he was traveling 4 or 5 days a week. So, I really had nothing else to do besides be in lab and go to the gym, or, I played ice hockey, volleyball, squash, rode my bike, lifted weights, and it was awesome. Until I decided that I should lose some weight. I was thinking about getting pregnant and doing some reading about that. And I just read in so many different places, lose weight to have a healthy pregnancy or lose weight to have an easy time getting pregnant. And I was like, I've got some love handles I could lose. And then the guys in my lab went on a diet. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that too, sure. So I think, as most of us, when I decide I want to do something, I go all in. And so I did. I cut my calories significantly, and I lost a lot of weight in about a month. And I thought it was awesome. I was doing exactly what I was supposed to. I was going to have the perfect pregnancy. And then I went off the pill and no period. And so for me, it was a combination of a lot of exercise and then severely restricting my calories, and everything was low fat. And so that was about it. So the next question is, what led you to the realization that you needed to make some changes? So in my case, it was obvious because I went off the pill wanting to get pregnant, and I wasn't getting a period, which makes it really difficult. So I went to see my OB, and she sort of said, well, it can take a while after you get off the pill to get your period back. So if nothing happens in 3 months, come back and see me again. So nothing happened in 3 months because I was still under eating, although not as severely, and exercising quite a lot. And so nothing really changed in that regard. So 3 months passed, I went back to see her again. Then it was sort of slowly coming to the realization that I should eat a bit more and exercise less. I mean, my doctor sort of said, well, maybe you can. I mean, it should be fine what you're eating and exercising, but, it wouldn't hurt to eat a bit more or cut your exercise. And at the time, this was way back in 2004, there really wasn't very much information out there about HA, hypothalamic amenorrhea. And so I kind of had to figure this all out on my own. I started my own blog and met a few other women going through the same thing. And it seemed like in general the recommendation was eating a bit more and maybe cutting exercise. So that's what I did slowly over time. The next question is, what did your doctors say? So I sort of already started talking about that. So after the next visit, my doctor did some blood work, and she's like, I still don't really know what's going on, but then she talked to a reproductive endocrinologist who suggested that it might be hypothalamic amenorrhea. So I moved over to the reproductive endocrinologist, also known as an RE. And she did some more tests and, tested for PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and did an MRI of my brain to make sure that I didn't have a pituitary adenoma, which can be another cause of missing periods. And eventually, about 6 months later, officially diagnosed me with hypothalamic amenorrhea. Nobody really said over that time, eat more, exercise less. It was sort of like, well, the RE said, your periods have never been that regular, so they're probably not going to come back again, and, we'll just have to do injections to get you pregnant, and that'll be fine. So I didn't really get a lot of support from the doctors, but just over time, I reduced my exercise and ate more and more and gained back a lot of the weight that I had lost. So I got my first period when I was on vacation in South Africa. I was born there, and we went for 3 weeks, and I really wasn't doing any of my normal exercise, so there's no ice hockey there, and I wasn't really lifting weights, and no biking, no squash, so I was resting a lot more and eating a lot more, and so I got my first period then. So the next question is, tell us a bit about the changes you made to restore your periods. What did you change? Was it gradual or immediate? And how long did it take you to recover? So I also kind of talked about this already. I'm not very good at staying on track, obviously. So I'll just keep telling you a little bit more about what happened. So after that first period, we came back to the US, and I went to see the reproductive endocrinologist, and she did an ultrasound, and I was so excited because I had a 13 millimeter follicle, and I was like, yes, I've done it. This is awesome. I don't need any injections or anything. And then I had a second opinion appointment 2 days later, and they did another scan, and that little follicle was still only 13 millimeters. So that then they were like, oh, it's not going to happen, and so we have to do injections. Now, knowing what I know now, I wish I had just waited, like another week maybe to see what happened, because I really think that I probably would have ovulated on my own. It just takes a little bit more time sometimes in those first few cycles. So then I did 4 rounds of injectables that did not work. I ovulated but didn't get pregnant. And I continued to gain weight and cut my exercise through that time, just trying to do anything I could to help. And then eventually I got pregnant naturally while we were waiting to do in vitro fertilization after that 4th failed cycle. So the next question is, what were the top 3 things that helped you to alter your lifestyle and thoughts about what was healthy? Again, for me, it's really been a journey over time. When I was pregnant, I ended up on modified bed rest because I was having a ton of Braxton Hicks contractions, which are sort of practice contractions. Your belly just tightens, but it doesn't actually do anything. But they were like 2 to 3 minutes apart, which is not normal. And so the doctors basically said, rest as much as possible. So during that time, I ended up finding an online message board about hypothalamic amenorrhea, and I joined and started posting to sort of share my story and everything I had learned. And just working with everybody on that board was what really helped me to see how unhealthy the lifestyle that we have been taught to be super healthy really is. The quote unquote clean eating, constantly restricting how much we're allowing ourselves to eat, what we're allowing ourselves to eat. The feeling that we have to be exercising every day or we're going to lose all our fitness and everything. Just that really all or nothing mentality. I've really come to see how detrimental that can be to our really overall life and happiness over the years that I've been working with women in this area. So I think moderation is really what I've learned in this time. Like, there's very little that you can eat that's going to be unhealthy if you eat if you eat a reasonable amount of it, and sometimes a lot and sometimes a little, and it all kind of evens out in the end. And obviously that doesn't include allergies and things like that. And same thing with exercise. Our bodies are remarkably resilient, and I think that's one of the big things that I've learned is that we feel like if we don't exercise for 2 days, we're all of a sudden going to be this couch potato and unable to get up and do anything. And it just doesn't work like that. So the last question is, for a woman who is struggling with missing periods now, what one suggestion would you have? I think that my biggest suggestion for people is patience and learning moderation. And that's two things I know, but they all kind of go hand in hand. So it seems like once we learn about the changes that need to be made, the idea is you make the changes, you start eating more, you exercise less, and it's like, where's my period? You kind of want it right away, but our bodies just don't work quite like that. So they need a bit of time to kind of come back to a new equilibrium, a new balance. And so just being patient with yourself and realizing that sometimes you're gonna mess up, and that's okay. And it's not a straight line to recovery. It can be, there are highs and lows, and I think one of the biggest things is getting support from other people who are going through the same thing. People that you can vent to, people that can understand how difficult it is to actually make these changes. Most people are like, what, you have to eat more? That's awesome. And they don't realize how difficult it is to sort of flip everything that we thought we knew upside down on its head, and really change our understanding of what healthy is. And I think for the long term, healthy is a lifestyle that you can maintain, a lifestyle where your body is happy, a lifestyle of moderation. I think that's really key in just about everything. And so I think that's it. So I hope to be back in a week or two with an interview or two from other women who have recovered. And I hope that you found this helpful. Bye.